Hello everyone, welcome back to Believers Science Academy, Bengaluru. This is topic of the day. Today we'll discuss an inhumane event or a very disturbing event that happened in India. That is, there was a sleeper bus, which caught fire and it led to death of 20 people who were burned to death. So this raises the question: are lives this cheap in India? So we'll discuss in today's video. We'll discuss why the fire incidents keep on happening in India. What is the legal recourse for this, and what we should do to avoid all these kind of issues in the future. So the topic is: are Indian lives this cheap? So the truth behind Jaisalmer bus case: 20 lives lost, but have we learned anything? So we'll discuss this detail or incident in detail. So the incident was in Jaisalmer bus fire. This is the Jaisalmer bus, a sleeper bus, a private sleeper bus. So where it happened? In Thaiyat village in Jaisalmer, Rajasthan. 20 people died and 16 injured with a 70% burns. Sleeper bus which started from Jaisalmer to Jodhpur, two of the important and prominent tourist destinations in Rajasthan. So fire began at 3:30 p.m. near a rear section. In rear section at the back, the fire began. As soon as the fire began, the doors and the windows closed. And when it is too hot, all these metals contract, making it difficult to open the doors, making it difficult to open the windows. So many people tried to escape, but they were unable to escape. As a result, they died due to burn and due to suffocation. So this villagers or the nearby villagers rescued certain passengers before the brigade arrived. The area where this fire or the bus caught fire was near to a military cantonment area. So military area, and the people or the army people tried to rescue them, but the fire was too difficult to uh, deduce. Okay, so this is the issue. So official response is compensation has been announced. That is, Prime Minister has announced 2 lakh to deceased families and 50,000 to injured victims, and the site visits. That is CM of Rajasthan. That is Bhajan Lal Sharma and Health Minister have visited the accident sites, and condolences come quickly, but safety reforms don't. So every incident, after all these kinds of incidents, be it death of people due to electrocution on road in the monsoon. Okay, where it happened? It happened in Kolkata, West Bengal. Even the same response from the government, both the state and the center government. No side taking here, both the governments did the same thing. And after that, there was a bridge collapse. After this, there were death of 20 children because of cold reef cough syrup. So these kind of incidents are always happening in India. So the condolences come very quickly, but the reforms don't, or the safety reforms don't. So we'll discuss what is the reason behind India's fire tragedy pattern. Okay, first we'll discuss some of the recent initiatives or recent incidences. India's fire tragedy pattern. Recurring fires plague transport, hospitals, factories, and residential buildings across the country. In 2024, Pune e-bus depot, where 14 buses gutted in massive fire, and in 2023, Delhi Mundka building, 27 people dead in a commercial building fire. Next, in 2023, 2022, a infamous Surat coaching fire. Students trapped inside the coaching center set ablaze. More than 30 people or 30 students died there. And in 2021, hospital fires. In Rajkot and Bharuch hospital fires claimed lives. So this is not a new issue. This keeps on happening. These fire incidents are recurring in India. So why is it the reason? What are the common sectors affected? First is the transport. For example, fire, buses or the trains catching fire. Risk is because of electrical failures, electrical faults, and the fuel leaks. Major reason behind this. And then in residential, examples because of unauthorized buildings. And what is the risk here? Because of the poor wiring. When it is authorized buildings, the wiring has to be done from the permission of the government. But when it is unauthorized, the wirings are done without a proper warning or without proper structure. So it leads to fire catching because of electricity faults and electricity failures, which have ultimately lead to fire. And then in industries, especially the factories and refineries. Recent Andhra Pradesh pesticide factory which burned to death, which resulted in death of so many people. And risk is because of the chemical fires. That is what happened in Andhra Pradesh recently. And then in hospitals, example during the COVID-19 units, that is a lack of exits and drills. Obviously, in the hospitals also some sort of chemicals there as well. When the fire catches up, it catches up to the chemicals, which ultimately lead to the explosion and the death. Okay, so these are the common sectors and usual reasons behind these kind of incidents. Next, why do these fires keep happening? Okay, one is the reasons and why. It is not only the reasons on a particular incident, but there is a deeper structural failures which is happening in India. That is technical failures, where it is because of poor wiring, overloaded circuits, ACs, and fuel leaks. This is the technical side. And then human negligence. So, though there are certain errors which have the potential to result in disasters, but these errors combined with negligence from the human side ultimately lead to disasters. So, human negligence, that is non-compliance with what? Non-compliance with rules and regulations. And then corruption between whom? Corruption between the politicians, contractors, or the builders, and then untrained staff. Okay, so normally whenever the fire happens, even with all the train or even with all the proper documentation with all the compliances etc, even then there are chances of fire being happening or fire incident occurring. But when the fire incident occurs, what you need a trained personnel to deal with these kind of incidents. But do we have the personals here? No. So trained personals are very less in India. That is also an issue. And then systematic deficiencies, that is, though the rules and regulations are there, their enforcement is very weak, their implementation is very weak. And then lack of rural infrastructure. Okay, so these are some of the institution reasons why these fire incidents keep happening in India. Next, legal and institutional framework. So what are the provisions that deal with fire incidents? First is constitutional, that is article 21 says right to life and personal liberty. What has right to life and personal liberty also has? It also has right to safety. But in these kinds of fire incidents which ultimately lead to death, is it upholding this right? Obviously no. It is violating the right to safety, or it is violating the right to life itself. Then National Building Code of 2016, which provides fire standards that each buildings should be met with certain standards. That is, you have to have fire extinguishers in each building. There has to be a fire drill that has to happen on regular basis, and there has to be proper exits and openings for people to escape in case of fire happenings. But they are not being implemented, they are not being enforced properly. And then Motor Vehicles Act of 1988, which focuses on vehicle safety. This might not have been compiled or uh, like this might not have been properly done by this particular bus incident here. And then Factories Act of 1948, which focuses on workplace fire protection. And finally Safety Code of 2020, which provides updated fire norms. So you can see there are multiplicity of laws, multiplicity of acts, multiplicity of constitutional safeguards which are provided to save lives from these kind of fire incidents. But what is happening? The major reason is because of, as I told you, that is the enforcement weak enforcement. Next, nodal agencies for this is, one is National Disaster Management Authority, that is NDMA, then Directorate General of Fire Services, and then State Fire Directorates. Okay, all these nodal agencies are there, but the implementation is lacking or lagging. So what is the missing link? So as I told you, despite all the availability of laws, there is a missing link, that is implementation. First is fire NOCs are easily bypassed. Why? Because of the corruption. No objection certificates obtained through corruption and negligence. So these officials, these bureaucrats obviously go for corruption in the need or in enticement of this bribery. They go for corruption. As a result, the safety protocols are neglected, which ultimately lead to death. Then inspections poorly enforced. So even after the no objection certificates are provided, there has to be regular audits, there has to be regular inspections. But are they being done here? Not properly. So lack of regular audits and accountability mechanisms is also one of the leading cause behind these kind of accidents. And then local fire departments underfunded. Though the department are there, the personals are very less, and because of unfund or low funding, because of lack of funds available for protecting the people who are protecting people from fire. Okay, and then insufficient resources and equipment for emergency response. All these things are not properly done in India. And rural area lack a response system. no fire stations or trained personals in remote locations. That is what happened in Jaisalmer case. Though the bus broke down. Just imagine if the bus caught fire in urban areas, would there have been 20 deaths? Obviously no, because there is availability of fire brigades everywhere in urban areas. But the lack of fire brigades in rural areas led to death of 20 people in Jaisalmer. Okay, because it happened in a village, it happened in a rural areas, it happened in a deserted road. Okay, next. So we normally react to fires, not prevent them. Okay, so what should be the focus on? We should focus on preventing them because prevention is always better than cure. So what should be the way forward? How can you prevent them before happening? First is regulation. What the regulation? That is regulation focusing on digital fire NOCs, that is digital fire non-objective certificates, and strict audits and mandatory bus retrofitting with the safety equipment. Okay, any old buses which have passed certain limit, they have to be retrofitted with upgraded safety and security standards. Next, technology, that is internet of things, fire sensors, AI surveillance systems, automatic suppression systems. Even if the bus or any building catches fire, there has to be systems which suppresses the fire in its initial stage itself. Okay, that has to be followed as well. Then capacity building, that is training programs, regular drills, community free or community fire brigades. This has to be brought in as well, so that in case the fire breaks out, there has to be a proper response from personals. Next, public awareness, safety campaigns and volunteer programs across communities. That is, instead of getting agitated, instead of getting, what you say, whenever there is an incident like this, the tension or the pressure on the people keeps on mounting. When there is a tension or when there is a pressure, people start acting abnormally, which ultimately lead to these kinds of issues. So people should be more aware what kind of action should be taken in these kind of situations. Only then it will lead to lesser tension or lesser pressures. Okay, next, lives are not accidents. So some of the key takeaways here is lives are lost not in accidents but in our refusal to learn from them. So good quote, you can note it down, you can use it in your essay or ethics. So key takeaway is India's fire safety equals policy without enforcement, which is a recipe for recurring tragedy. And the call is Jaisalmer must push real reform, and the fire safety is a fundamental right and not a luxury. So remember, justice for Jaisalmer and fire safety. No, focus should be on the fire safety. So this is about the unfortunate incident that happened in Jaisalmer and all the issues related to fire incidents in India. So this ends the topic for the day. If you have any doubts or any recommendations or suggestions for me, you can write in the comment box. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon so that you don't miss any notification.